on. I've worked with Ed on several things. I watched him do the Dennis Profits thing to millions of dollars. I watched him take a direct mail, which he knew absolutely nothing about, by the way, and I happen to know something about direct mail, and so he was sharing with me what he was doing, and built a huge wellness business, and then an online show and multiple other things, and now he does lead stuff, and we actually started CFE working together 2 years ago?
Yeah, when you guys started. But, we'll talk. I'll give a little context on some of that. But, what's really crazy is, and this will go into can you show my slide, or is that me doing it?
But anyway, just to be official, I want you to welcome him because he flew all the way here from Chicago to share stuff that's working, that I asked him to come in because I think personal branding is so important, and he's got some really cool strategies for doing that, and so we're going to kind of go through that. So let's give Ed O'Keefe a big hand.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks to Roland, Chris, Deanna, and Adam. Who would agree? Where's the hell yeah? The last session was off the charts. Say hell yeah. Yeah, here we go. For a while there, I thought Tony Robbins' episode was happening because there's so many hell yeahs and no chest bumping. I stumbled into something that I think is really, really cool, and I kind of reached out to Roland. I'm like, hey, man, I've done something for a couple clients that I think Consulting for Equity members would really get a lot of benefit out of. And number two is, since I was working early on with Roland on helping with some behind the scenes of launching Consulting for Equity, I have a really good in-depth knowledge of what some of the problems are that you're facing. So anyhow, how many of you would be excited if I showed you how to get an unlimited pre-qualified deal flow using your personal brand? Would think that'd be pretty cool. Say hell yeah. All right, you guys are all tricked out. This is amazing. So I'm going to tell you a story about how I helped a 73-year-old dental consultant go from 1 to 2 $65,000 a year coaching clients to, on average, 7 new clients a month. And this is kind of how I stumbled into this. And it's really powerful of immediately turning somebody's brand into a direct response attraction magnet that instantly gives you credibility, instantly gives you authority, and positions you properly before you ever have to go into the verbal jujitsu of deal cutting. Chris is an absolute Jedi. I just said to him before I started this, I was like, what we need to do is transcribe the last session and have every single word he said laid out. And then this is a little bit about me personally. I train athletes. I've been an athlete. I love coaching. Coaching is my true passion. Someone just asked me what am I most passionate about? Where are you at? And I said coaching and training my kids, and then coaching other people's kids. I love. If I had a choice, if money was no option, I would just be helping people find their uniqueness, which I'll show you here on the business side, and then just training athletes, because it's just the best. There's nothing more magical than seeing people's eyeballs go off, which you can have that same effect in business as well. And what I would do, honestly, is I would get that transcribed, and I would walk around. I would go out for my 15-minute walk in the morning to get the sunlight, and I would be reading that off until it's in my neurology, and it just starts becoming second nature. That's how you start winning the game, by the way, because your body's either going, your neurology's either going to eventually adapt it after you do it a few thousand times, or you just do it a few thousand times, and then your body's all of a sudden, your perceptions and how you see deals and how you see your abilities just start happening because you're not waiting, you're just inoculating your body with this. Anyhow, another thing I'll just say really quickly is I wrote a book called Time Collapsing about this topic, is that if you really want to shrink the time frames of actually getting what you want or being who you want to be, you got to borrow other people's worldviews and perceptions and just steal them and stick them in your own system. I mean, that's really what.
You guys should buy that book and read it too, or listen.
You should do it. Yeah, I'll ship. You know what? I'll ship a box out for the next group mastermind. And then we'll ship out a couple boxes. So anyhow, just a little.
Don't buy Ed's book.
Don't buy my book. Don't buy my book. Maybe just buy it, send it to a friend. Actually, that'd be really cool too. This is my crew. That's my wife. We have 7 kids together, and my ages are 18, 17, 16, 15, 11, and then the twins are 9. And then my wife says to me, like 2 months ago, she goes, I think I'm having a midlife crisis. And I'm like, I go, honey, I knew you were having a midlife crisis when you showed up with our third dog without letting me know. And then you went and got a job that, like you're back teaching again because you just needed, which is a long story on that one. But yeah, it's like saving our school, so it's all good. There was a mission behind it. So that's a little bit about me. I wanted to tell you more about me, but I actually have a flight tonight, so I can't go too in depth on that. But really quickly, the question that I would ask myself and using, what would happen, how do we leverage your personal brand to get more deals flowing more smoothly, more easily towards you, and so that this is a little more fun, this all is fun, but where the hiccups you feel like in your business or in your deal flow or you're selling or you're communicating becomes fun and easy rather than sticky and hard. And what's cool about watching Adam, watching Roland, watching Deanna, watching Chris is they all have different styles. And so you can massage this thing to be what's going to fit your personality, okay? Raising kids, I'll tell you one thing about raising kids is that, especially having 7 of them, is that they're all different, and they're all uniquely gifted, and they're all uniquely imperfectly perfect in their own way. And I think a mature coach or trainer or expert, when I'm talking to you guys individually, is the thing that your prospective clients don't know about you yet is what is your X factor and what's your uniqueness. And sitting behind, this is a Roland phrase, by the way, sitting behind a computer hoping that they reach out to you and they buy from you or do a deal with you or accept you into a discovery call, it's just, if they don't get some kind of experience of your uniqueness in a moment where they're wow, Nate just said something I've never heard before, I haven't thought of it that way, that's the immediate credibility builder, right? And something I said before jumping on too was, if you listen to Adam's, if you took Adam's last presentation, which I thought was was awesome, is he actually showed you how he manufactured credibility through a process. I'm getting on stages. I'm getting in this group. I'm doing these things. By the way, you're doing 80% of what he just described. And for those of you who are comfortable going on stages, I say go on stages. If you're not, that's totally cool too. We can manufacture that. But it's manufactured. It's your responsibility to manufacture your personal brand. No one's going to do that for you, right? So this is what the talk's about a little bit. And you can build it the way you want to do it. If you're an extrovert, you like being out face-to-face. If you like cold calling, God bless you. I don't. I never want to talk to anybody unless they're pre-qualified, pre-warmed up, and ready to move forward at some level, right? And I don't want to waste my time, right? Some people thrive on that. Now, personal brand stuff, since he's in the news, I want to throw it out. Mr. Beast has a $10 billion brand. And I could be a little off on this, and I stole this slide from Kazi, but he'll appreciate the pitch. He's a YouTube dude, really awesome, amazing. But he's a personality, and he's not worth 10 billion. I could go through 3 or 4 other people that have focused on their personal brand. Tony Robbins is a great example of somebody that his personality, everybody knows who Tony Robbins is. And he was coming out with a book every year. He was building those books and those assets as ways to funnel leads into his businesses. He wasn't doing it out of altruistic. By the way, I'm not saying he wasn't, but he's strategically building his brand, giving all his money away to charity of the books, but he's generating those lead floats coming into his businesses, right? So there's a strategy there. He's manufacturing it. If he went off to what's Richard Branson's island, and even though he doesn't need to because he's got his own island, so they could all be on the island together. We're not going to talk about Jeffrey Epstein's island, so we'll keep that one to the side. And you guys can chuckle. This is in a room full of dentists. Even if my jokes are bad, it's okay. I'm a dad. Bad dad jokes. You should see me coaching 17-year-olds now that aren't my own kids. They're I have to tell them that was a bad dad joke. Sorry, it was stupid. It was just good. Just keep going. That is, it's okay to make fun of coach. It's all good. But if Tony Robbins exited stage left for 5-6 years, guess what? Maybe we'd still talk about him, but probably not. as much of an impact as we think we're having right now, if we're not manufacturing stuff. I saw an ad for Jack Canfield. I used to love Jack Canfield, Chicken Soup for the Soul. 20 years ago, man, him and Mark Victor Hansen were more on fire than anything else. Well, I don't even know what Mark Victor Hansen does anymore. I know Jack does stuff, but he's got to manufacture and remind people why he's actually relevant to them. Does that make sense? It's our responsibility to be relevant. So who are these three people? Let's just go from, shout out a name, just shout out one name. You guys, what's that? What's that? Larry King. Bam, Larry King. Who else is up there? Cindy Crawford. And what Meaningful Beauty was her infomercial. And then what's the other dude? Yeah, you got to smack yourself when you say his name. Okay, so here's the deal. These are all popular infomercials, right? Personal Power, Meaningful Beauty, and Omega XL. Omega XL still is just killing it. Now, what was the commonality all these things had in it? They had a third-party person interviewing them. So you got, is it Fran Tarkenton? Am I saying his name right? Valerie Bertinelli, and then actually Larry King was interviewing somebody else, right? So I'm here today to tell you how I've become the Larry King of my clients' lives by interviewing them and creating their own celebrity brand through like a manufactured, sideways credibility building conversation that sells people on what you want to sell, right? And what I always thought about was like the hardest selling platform, which are infomercials, are utilizing interviews to sell their products and services, then why aren't we doing it? Well, no one's called me up to interview me yet. I'm not as popular as Roland Frazier. You don't have to be. Right? Manufacture the thing. Create it. We're marketers. We're advertisers. We're growth specialists. We do this stuff, right? So the other thing that's really important on this is to like why this works. Stephen Covey talks about the speed of trust. We're time collapsing the know, like, and trust factor. By the way, Bailey's already uploading all these PDFs to wherever you guys are having them, so you can chill out and. Okay. Nothing is as fast as the speed of trust. Nothing is as fulfilling as the relationship of trust. Nothing is as inspiring as an offering of trust. Nothing is as profitable as the economics of trust. Nothing has more influence than a reputation of trust. The one thing that AI really can't take away from us, and ChatGPT and all these other confusion things, is like a good somebody who you can connect to and relate to and want to do business with. And once you establish that, the economics are just natural followers of the dominoes of that, right? I mean, yeah, we're going to get into that in a second. So 2 assumptions really quickly. Number 1, we've already gone through this, so this is Roland's slide, not mine, which is you are a mentor, not a consultant. You are a profit center, genius, not a cost. You have the connections and solutions, and you're the resource provider that your clients need, right? So here's like a question I had when I was going through this slide, which is not moving forward. And what we want to do is we want to get paid through the consultation to pre-qualify potential equity deals. That's actually what's going on here. We're getting paid to pre-qualify the partner, right? So then my question of this was like, well, why in the world, why would a highly sought-after consultant ever get on the phone with zero pre-framing, pre-selling, or pre-education, or pre-authority building, right? Now, someone might say, like, well, I'm so good on sales that I can do it. I'm totally cool with that. Like, if you love me on the phone and you like banging phones, but I don't want those awkward conversations, or I don't want to become the best cold caller. I don't want to be the best cold receiver. That's not my mission. If you're like, Ed, but I like doing that, totally, then that's your unique X factor, right? So my whole lifespan, everything I've ever done is I knew I wanted to coach. I knew I wanted free time for my kids. I knew I wanted to do those things. So when the deal flow comes in, we have to have pre-framing, pre-selling. Now, who can tell me like your journey of actually mentoring under Roland? Like how you first heard of Roland? What did you do next? What did you do after? Anyone? Okay, Matt, right? Is Matt, right? Okay, cool. Just really quick, this is going to be fast because Southwest has certain flight times and when you're not there. Oh, you got one? Okay, cool. I'll throw this back. Rolling. Okay, go ahead, bud.
The quick rundown. Let's see.
First time you heard of him?
He did a joint webinar with Jay Abraham.
That's all I need to hear.
Yeah.
He was at a joint webinar with Jay Abraham. Okay, that's all I wanted to hear. TC, bring the heat. Whoop, whoop.
Pete Vargas mentioned him and said credited Roland for all the businesses that he had. So it's a part of Pete's world. That's the first place I heard of Roland.
Okay, and then what was your next step? Just out of curiosity.
Then after that, I started to see Roland pop up everywhere in relation to Epic, and I
Just coincidence.
In relation to the Epic Challenge. And then I thought, okay, stick a pin. I'm definitely going to circle back because I want to do this. I circled back about 6 months later, joined the challenge. Went from the challenge, did Epic Elite, decided I wanted to use consulting as a part of acquisitions. Then Roland came out with CFE. Then I joined Epic Board.
So, awesome. 2 snaps for both these guys. All right, sweet. I should have set that up better, but that's okay. You know, oh yeah, baby. All right. So Roland, let me ask a question. So we heard webinar with who? Jay Abraham.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you sit in your closet and not actually strategically do anything to build that relationship with Jay? Just happened naturally, right? With P. Varga, like, did you just like accidentally somehow end up being his mentor or whatever, or was there strategies that went on before that? All kinds of strategies for both those, right? I mean, Jay was probably actually a longer term, like, hey, here's a guy that has I already know Roland's mind on this stuff is like, wow, he's got circles of influence everywhere around him, and he's got these certain gaps in his game plan that I can fill, and so we're going to find a real cool way to make money together. And then all of a sudden, he did this. I mean, that is Roland's thing. But you don't do that by not manufacturing momentum and action and stuff like that. So you guys kind of get that, where I'm going with that. So here's just the question, but I already kind of said it. I was, what if your ideal client or partner came toward you, ready, pre-qualified, eager to pay you, and do deal flow in your pipeline? Okay, so here's the kind of the story. A doctor who's been in the dental world for forever. Awesome dude, 70 years old. Dr. Bill Blatchford. I love Bill, right? Him and his wife fly to my house, pay me for a day of consulting, right? We spend the whole day kind of like, I listen to his dreams, visions, figuring out like, okay, how do we make this happen? You guys are doing X. You want to have a higher ticket program. We want to raise your prices. You want to fulfill more. Okay, got it all. By the end of the day, he's like, hey, Ed, how about I just contract and hire you for 3 months to work with, be like kind of a fractional CMO, but like not actually do everything. And I did. I was like, that sounds great. Okay, so we started that relationship. And after talking to the marketing team, the copywriters, listening to some of the salespeople, I was like, hey, Bill, they are totally missing your genius. Like, I might have said it differently that. I might have said, like, our marketing message, the reason you're not happy with the clients coming in is because the marketing message is not positioned properly for the value you truly create for these guys. And so I didn't throw them all under the bus. I said it in a way that was like, cool. I said, hey, why don't I just interview you? And let me ask all the questions. I'll structure the whole thing. The problem was, because every time he got on a video, and they have so much like custom video inside their studio. Hi, it's Bill, and here's Christine, it's his daughter. Great people, amazing technicians, amazing coaches. Not great if they're just given a camera like this. Hey, we're going to talk to you about our coaching club. That's what they would do. And they would talk back. It was just awkward. It wasn't good, okay? However, A players like what? What do you got? How many in here listen to podcasts, right? Everybody here, if you're not raising your hand, you're nodding your head. Or, you know, like when you're going to go make a big decision, you're researching things. It's easy. You can listen it 1.5 times, 2 times. You can listen to it fast. And if you really like the person, you can then listen to it again, or you can go down that rabbit hole. And so the interview came out. Now, here's what was super powerful about this whole relationship is that we discovered an entirely new hook that, first of all, I would have never even have figured out just through a marketing day because I was waiting for him to share it with me. On the interview, he tells a story about how, at the time, it was a $2.5 million practice, which back in the 80s was like, you know, like a $5 million practice or whatever. And he tells a story about how, like, at Christmas, everybody, his whole staff was leaving their Christmas party at their house. And his wife and himself were like cleaning up. And his wife turns as she's cleaning up. She goes, it's just like every month. You and I are left, everybody's gone, but we're the ones picking up the scraps. And it punched him right in the face this is what he says in the podcast. He goes, I was running what everybody said was going to be a successful business on the outside. Like you're doing $2.5 million, super successful dental practice, but I was stuck in the high growth, low profit trap. I was like, holy crap, buddy. You want more guys that are doing high growth? What do high growth guys have? They have money. But what do they not have? Good cash flow. And I was like, that's the title of this whole podcast, and that's the marketing. So we just changed the whole marketing, and instantly within 15 to 30 days, he went from 1 to 2 sales a month to 7, you know, some we have 12. And I now get a commission on all of that. But here's what I want to share with you, is that what was so powerful there was Bill's genius was not being found. And I'll be just direct with a lot of you guys. You're way smarter and sharper than you come off at when you start articulating your stuff. Or you're doing yourself a disservice and the people you can help by not having a personal brand where I could be like, hey, Dan, what do you do for a living? Or I look up Dan, and I can go on YouTube, and I can go on LinkedIn, and I can get driven from LinkedIn over to your YouTube video, and I'm like, wow, this guy's super smart. It's exactly what we need, okay? Because that's how people make decisions. Now, if you look at this funnel, let me just say this. I'm not going to go deep into this. This is basic ClickFunnels funnel. You don't need to go build out a funnel. I mean, I would actually recommend that you take a video, you stick it up on YouTube, cut it up into some shorts, stick a little bit on LinkedIn and all the socials. I mean, that's a longer topic, so we're not going to go into that. But that's like the basic framework. Now, Chris did something super smart. We did the same thing here that changed everything. After the interview, Ed, where do I send them? Well, you could send them anything. You have them call you, they can do all these things. But we just have them rate their systems in their dental practice. By having them do this simple little 10-step rate on a 0 to 10, they go through like their intake, their phone calls, their da-da-da-da-da. Well, guess what? When they come on the sales call, they've already pre-qualified themselves and pre-sold themselves because they can see all the issues that are happening in their practice. So the salespeople's job, this was the number one thing that I had to get the salespeople to do. Never try and sell anybody who hasn't listened to the interview with Bill. Like, you can be nice to them. You can ask them questions. Where are you from? What are you trying to? Okay, great. Here's the deal. I'm going to send you a link to an interview that Bill did that will kind of give you everything that we do for people, and then a systems analyzer. Once you go through that, you and I are going to jump on a 30-minute strategy call, discovery call to see if this is the right program for you or not, and I'll bring one of the doctors on. That's kind of how their system worked, and it just makes their life 20 times easier. I can tell as their consultant when they're not doing that. Sales drop immediately. And they're like, oh, the leads aren't as good. Well, whatever. So this is another thing. When we launched Consulting for Equity, one of the first pieces of assets that I used was this video of Ryan Dice introducing Roland. And then this was, I think, your first presentation of Consulting for Equity at Traffic and Conversion, or one of them anyhow. But look at the comments, 134 comments in there. And because I put in there like, hey, if you'd like to see more, type in CFE. Now, I'm not going to go fully into the funnel, because the funnel is not as important to you guys as just the power of them jumping in, okay? Jumping in, engaging. This was the interview. So I flew out to Roland's house. We had a crew videotape us. And by that time, I started bringing up, like, well, what are all the questions, which we'll get into this slide on this. What are all the questions that people are asking about Consulting for Equity? What are the objections that I would have? Probably all of you in the room had some of these. And like, let me interview Roland in a way that we flush out every objection everybody's going to have and let him answer it. And what's the coolest part about doing interviews is what? Give me one guess. What's the coolest part about doing an interview? I mean, this is what he naturally does, right? Yeah. But what the coolest part is, if you're not a natural like Roland, because I don't think we edited one thing, you can edit it. You can edit it. You get to look at it. You get to cut it up and be like, wow, that didn't make any sense. Hold on. Let me look at Chris's script again. How did Chris respond to this? And then you can be like, all right, let me answer that a different way. Okay, answer it freaking 4 ways. See what I mean? Like, you're only going to get better by doing that. So anyhow, so we did that. Now, here's the other thing that a lot of people get wrong. I know this never happens in this room. I know this doesn't happen in this room. But here's what a lot of people get wrong. I'm not really exactly sure who my exact client is. I'm not exactly sure how to structure this. I'm not exactly sure how to do this. If you look at the comments inside the video that you post, or you start getting emails from people with the questions, guess what? Your market is telling you what your next marketing pieces should be. Everybody does this backwards. It's taken me like 47 years to figure this out. Is like, you don't need to know what their problems are. You don't need to know all the things, because you're going to learn as you start making movement. Now, here's just great examples. Love this stuff. Already in the middle of instruction, new offer to match the mindset behind this. So that I can earn money officially to join CFE. Okay, so what's that? How to structure a new offer. He needs help structuring an offer. Okay, that could be a free piece of content we put out. Okay, what's the mindset of a consulting for equity owner? What's this person? Agency, consulting profession, and dancing bear job. You and Rob are rolling, showing us the way of this trap. So he's an agency and consulting. What's a Zoom call that you did, Roland? It was December 31st or something like that. For agencies, how agencies can escape the dancing bear trap and start getting equity and recurring revenue. Well, where did that come from? From people asking the questions, right? So you don't need to know it all. So that's really positive in that as well. I'm going to keep moving here. So then the other side of this too is if you have leads that are coming in, you can take the content from the interview and then you can turn it into your social posts, okay? You could do that. If you have a money, so the main money call that Consultant for Equity utilized in the beginning was a Zoom call with me, Roland, Deanna, and Adam on there, and then it progressed and Pete was on there as well. But you can use like an interview before someone ever talks to you. Guess what? You can use it as support material after they've talked to you. You can just put it up there as another part of your social media profile. Like, it can be used everywhere. You can cut it up in many ways. Now, I know I'm talking fast, but there's a reason for that. Someone said that Chris and I are the only people they don't have to put on 1.5 times speed. I'm like, with Chris, you might have to go to 0.8. When me, if I drink my energy drink right before I come up, you might have to go 0.7. I don't know. We'll see. And just laugh at my bad jokes, guys. So what's cool about this is I was listening to Chris's LinkedIn strategies, right? And the deal flow stuff. And was it Emma? What was the guy's other person's name on that podcast or on that stage that was talking about how he uses his LinkedIn profile to sell his consulting? Is there Emma or something like that? Anyhow, it doesn't really matter. My point is that how many get connection requests and just silly things all day long on LinkedIn? By you actually having something that creates immediate value. Alex Hormozy talks about the number one indicator they look for in their businesses is prospects' time to value. So how fast are you able to deliver some kind of piece of wisdom, insight, or value that radically transforms their thoughts about you and your positioning so they want to do business with you? The time to value, how quickly you can make it happen. You'll be the only person doing this. Now, here's 5 blockages that you may be thinking right now, so let me get them out of the way. So if I was interviewing myself, I'd say, Ed, what are the 5 blockages that people ask me about, when it comes to doing interviews? Number 1, I'm not 100% clear on my level 10 client or business that I want to acquire, or just for video purposes, or my customer. Well, we already addressed that, right? You don't have to be perfectly clear, because guess what? Videos you could do more of, you can add to, you can expand on, but again, kicking you in the butt a little bit is you can only get clearer by taking action and getting moving. You too can add on to this, by the way, if you have any points on any of these blockages, because these are objections to moving forward. Number 2, I'm not good on camera. Hey, listen, like I said before, number 1 is you're only going to get better on camera and audio by being on camera and doing this more often. The second thing I'll say is that if you have someone interview you, whether if I interviewed you or you do this on your own, one of the things I'll tell you is this. People want authenticity. I want to do business with you, man. I don't want to do business with your fake camera face. Right? I want you. I want you for your non-perfections. I want you for your, maybe you say ums a little bit, and maybe you're from Chicago, so you sound differently than all those cool people in California who are stuck up in California. I can't believe how many people are from California here. It's unbelievable. Who's from California here? All right. Man, I met some Canadians here. I was I thought they're still locking you guys in there, I thought you were stuck up north. We're stuck down here, But I think what you don't want to do is overthink being perfect, and then you become somebody. I was recording a video. I was like, hey, it's Ed. I'm like, I don't talk like that. I don't talk, why am I, and I kept screwing up. I was like, it's Ed, hey, blah, 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 blah. But being normal, why? Because you're going to attract the person that you are, that you're comparing. They're going to like you for you. So you don't want them showing up. Like, there's a couple guys. There's a guy who was ended up in jail in Ukraine, or not Ukraine, and whatever. Some people love him, some people hate him. I think one of the big problems he has a totally different personality, supposedly, on camera. Because everyone who's defending him saying, well, he's totally awesome, you got to meet him off camera. I'm like, well, my response to that is like, well, no. Like, I think one of the growth things for him is, dude, if you're going to be a jerk on camera, and everyone says you're great off camera, why don't you just be great? Why don't you just up-level your person and just be who you are? Well, it's, whatever. It's a different topic. Don't want to trigger anybody. Get yelled at again. See, I've cleaned it up, haven't I? Since I'm so proud of myself. I'm not good on camera, oh my God. Okay. No, but also too, like, one of the things that's really important is, like, Bill wasn't good on camera. Bill Blatchford, he's really not a good, and so part of, like, my job was to help massage it for him. Like, hey, he wants to talk about, go off on a tangent. I know how to pull him back in. Like, okay, no problem, Number 3, I have no one interview me. Well, okay, so you can hire someone, okay, you can find someone to do it. But the other thing I would say is that, like, the frameworks, we're going to talk about 4 different frameworks that you can use right away. You can interview yourself. Now, if you looked at Roland's video for the fund you're building, right? How did you open that up? Do you remember? Because I remember. You said, people often ask me, and so by using the people often ask me frame, guess what that opens up? A loop that you now get to fill as if somebody was actually interviewing you. Like, yeah, go ahead, Chris.
It's me. But
Roland.
by the way, I just want to tell you guys, like, I don't, the video that you saw that I did for Jesse, there was no script, there was no outline, I just said it. If you can get comfortable just having a conversation with the camera as if it was a person, you are very authentic in how you come off. You have 0 editing, and you also are able to produce really, really fast. And so the reason I don't remember any of the things Ed is asking me is I have no idea what I said. Remember, I said, and this might or might not be an objection, I hate watching myself on video. I hate it, right? So I don't ever do it. So I never look at anything I did other than if I've recorded something for social before I put it up, just to be sure I'm not a total idiot, right? That's it. And then I never look at it again. And then as far as editing now with Descript, we use Descript. We record straight into this program called Descript. Is it Descript AI or .com, Ryan? He doesn't know. .com. Descript.com. We record straight into that. So all of my ums, ahs, etc. that I might say, or likes, he just hits kill filler words. It highlights them all. He hits delete, and they're all gone. And I instantly speak like a human being, right? And if I say anything wrong, because it's recorded my voice enough times, he just types in what I said wrong. If I say, it's in the presentation, it was supposed to be PowerPoint, then he just types PowerPoint, it erases presentation, and my voice magically says the thing that he wants me to say. So it's become so easy to do this stuff now. And if you hate looking at yourself on video, then just don't watch it. Just don't watch it. Yeah. Get somebody else to do it.
And the other, so I love that. One of the things I was just wanting to scream when I was back there, like, about, like, the people that haven't responded on the funny thing, I was like, let's do an interview on it. Like, it's what I wanted to scream, like, let's do an interview on it. They have, there's a framework I'm going to share. They have FUD, which is fear, uncertainties, and doubts. And will it work for me? That is I guarantee there are people in your life, if you have lead flow or any deal flow, there's people that have already engaged with you some level, and the only reason why they haven't exchanged cash or money with you or hired you is because FUD is holding them out. Fear, uncertainty, and doubts. And all you got to do is alleviate those things. There's frameworks that I'm going to show you in a minute that you can do, but like, it's like, pull them in. They may have one question. How many of you are like this? Like, I'm never getting on a phone call with you if I know you're going to sell me unless I already know I'm buying. How many are like that? Like, I already know I'm buying because I know that if Roland's selling something and I know I'm, like, if I sign up for this strategy call, I'm buying, I'm not booking the strategy call. Like, so my one hesitation, I know he's going to win me over. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I get this hesitation solved so I can just buy? Like, it's just my buying personality. So how do we do that? Well, we give them different ways to get that feeling of certainty, confidence, and hope, and, in you. Okay, cool. So let's go over a few frameworks here. We do a small little exercise. So this is Roland's Genius transformation promise. So like beginning of like the interview, well, what do you do for a living, blah, blah, blah. Because we're going to lead up to a small little exercise. You don't need to write this down. It's going right into it. Let's see if this works. Yeah. Who's the ideal customer? And you guys did this morning. And what do I do for them? So that's how you answer that. The host says, oh, wow. So here's the next thing. So the way we do that is, and this is what I call, this is the immediate thing. You can practice this, and we're going to do a small exercise. I'm going to need your help and your help on just like give me something to play with here. Everyone talks about building authority and credibility. What I want coming out of your mouth is like, what is the counterintuitive method that you teach or that you do for clients that makes them say, oh my gosh, I never thought about that? Because that could happen in literally 15 seconds, and immediately, because of the statement, you've just done an authority switch where like, here's the prospect, here's the salesperson. By me saying something that is totally counterintuitive, you've never heard before, I just reverse that relationship. Specifically, with consulting for equity, what is it? Hey, we turn God of minutes into getting paid up front, getting access and equity in a business and getting paid for it, and then adding recurring revenue and future wealth. As an agency, as a consultant, blah, blah, blah. Those are the four main issues that people have. And go ahead, were you going to jump in there?
No, go ahead. Finish.
No, but that's like the core thing. Well, because my next question would be, what would be your next question after he says that? How do you do that? 100% of the time. Go ahead and add to that.
Yeah, so how many of you, so right here what it says is, what's your counterintuitive method that makes them say, oh my God, right? Raise your hand if you have a counterintuitive thing right now that you say to people that totally blows their mind. And it's okay if you don't. Okay, so I got 4 or 5 people that raise their hands. So for everybody that doesn't, how many of you guys, raise your hand, all of you, if you use ChatGPT currently, if you've done it? Okay, if you haven't, we're going to get you to do it tomorrow, so you might want to, spoiler alert, take a look at it tonight. But we got people that are going to help you get on it if you can't. If you want to get a counterintuitive argument to whatever you're doing, ask ChatGPT to give you 10 counterintuitive arguments that you might offer someone who wants to sell their business. Or give me 10 counterintuitive arguments of how you install screens in a porch. I mean, I don't know, whatever it is that you do, right? Whatever it is that you do, ChatGPT has scoured the internet and knows counterintuitive arguments. And there's some pretty daggone good ones. And if you don't like the first 10 that come up, say, give me 10 more, okay? And you will have this mind-blowing content that Ed wants you to have.
Yeah, and the framework on this is really simple. Like most ideal clients, so like when I was working with dentists, I'd say most dentists try to get, what's their more core outcome? More profit and more patients by doing price-driven new patient generation. Now, every dentist who does that, or anyone who's in dentistry would be like, yeah, that's right. Or they try and grow their business by taking out loans, going deeper in the debt, and expanding their practice. And I'm like, okay. What we do is we help dental offices get unlimited dental implant patients using pre-education and pre-qualification so that the best cases are coming in already with their credit cards out, ready to move forward with treatment. So you're never wasting chair time, and you're never selling a patient anything, And so I just listed out their dream scenario. So they're going to say, oh my gosh, how do you do that? So, okay, how many of you have a counterintuitive method? Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Because we're going to do an exercise on this. I'm not going to have time to do the exercise on this.
So this is the one I actually created when I went through consulting for equity. So this is hot off the press of a couple years ago. But I help e-commerce entrepreneurs scale their businesses without relying on crazy and wildly unpredictable paid ads. And if you're in e-commerce, all we do is throw up a Facebook ad or throw up a TikTok ad. So if I'm helping you scale without relying on these crazy, expensive, and wildly unpredictable paid ads, the question is how do you do that? How do you do it without paid ads? How do you scale e-com businesses without doing Facebook ads when that's what everyone knows. So you may want to think about what everyone's doing in your industry and how can you turn it on its head and have something that's counterintuitive. Helpful?
Yeah, I love it. All right, 2 snaps for Chris. Hell you. All right, who's going to be brave? Oh, you got one? Who's going to be brave out here and share their counterintuitive method? Yeah, okay, Denker. Oh, we got a couple. Got Denk. Will you throw the box over at him? Check your cell phone real quick. Check your text messages. Yeah.
So a lot of people talk to me about SEO and things like that, and the people I speak to in the SEO world, other people that are digital marketers that do SEO, all think that SEO is the ultimate answer to marketing. It's everything. So it's organic. You don't have to pay for ads once you have it. It's all this great stuff. But then I always ask them, I said, well, where does Google get his information from? So, all these SEOs are trying to appease Google. But Google just aggregates information. It gets its information from somewhere else.
Yeah.
It gets its information from the media. So when the White House goes out and has an announcement to make in the morning, they don't announce it to Google. They don't put a Facebook ad out. They have a press conference. It goes to the media. Google grabs all that stuff. People look at me and say, never thought about that. So why am I doing SEO? Why am I doing paid ads? And so I won't give away the whole phrase that I give to people, but based on that concept, I can turn around the whole thing where somebody's thinking I'm going to sell them marketing, but they're like, whoa, it's like that's a whole different thing that you're talking about here. I've got all these people, I've got half of India calling me trying to sell me stuff on SEO and ads, but you just said something that makes 100, that I've never heard that before. How do you do that? And then that's where I go in and do the whole rest of the pitch.
Yeah, I love it. All right, you have one quickly? Okay, throw it over.
So in my case, all I do is for real estate agents, for example, I say I help real estate agents 2x, 5x, 10x their business by using the power of artificial intelligence. That's it.
Okay, that's awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
So what I'm doing there is, first of all, I'm positioning myself immediately. Who doesn't want to 2x, 5x, or 10x their business? And then I'm jumping into something that is innovative, such as AI, which immediately triggers their curiosity. That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah. So most real estate. I'm making this up. Doesn't have to be perfect. Most real estate agents are still trying to get new houses to sell or
Get new leads from Zillow.
Get new leads by doing it, and then by cold calling, going to stupid business events, blah blah blah. But we were able to help them get 10x that growth using AI and ChatGPT right now in a really simple way that's easy to understand, even if that's all confusing to you. I would throw that out there. Like, you can get started immediately within 7 days, even if that sounds totally crazy and outrageous to you.
I'd probably say why Zillow, cold calls, farming, and referrals are the worst way to get real estate leads.
Love it.
Because that's going to say, well, how?
Because then they're like, well, what the hell else is there? Because that's what we all use, right? That to me would be more counterintuitive and more controversial.
Now the last slide I'll cover, and then I'll open up for a few questions, and then I got to bounce out, unfortunately. Sorry. What do you say when the host says to you, how do you do that? What you're trying to say is you never answer that question. You conversationally say, that's a great question. And then we go on the attack. We go on the attack of their present plan. Because if I start going, how do I do that? Now I go into like tactical teaching mode, right? And we're giving them a list of things to do. That is the gateway. It's a buyer question that opens up our doorway to attack the present plan that is we go deeper into like, well, most of the guys do X, most of the guys do Y. How have you been currently trying to achieve the goal? Oh, and they start telling you that. So the way you can do that is like, well, most of our clients, let me tell you about Bob. Okay, so I'm going to skip 1 second here. So Bob wanted the dream. Bob wanted more listings and more leads. Bob wanted to rank on SEO. Bob kept doing Y. Y is the plan that keeps failing, that keeps them stuck. He kept trying to do this. Like Dominic just kept trying to do this over and over and over again. And so what ended up happening was he had this big business, no profit, 20 employees, angry wife, kids, dropping out of school. And Bob had spent 12 years on this and never, we're just attacking Bob's plan here, right? Then what kept him there is because Bob believed if he worked harder, stayed up late, made more calls, did this, it would automatically somehow change. But that wasn't what changed. What changed one day is we applied the magic method. We can call your thing with that. You have how many profit activators do you have, Roland?
212, I think.
All right, 212. So we applied just 3 of our 212 profit activators, and then immediately it changed everything for Bob. That's the case study framework, okay? And so that's how you go down Hell Island and you just hammer it out. Now, I'm going to leave it with Bob, okay? So I have a couple minutes to wrap this up. Number one is this. I would take these story frameworks and I would take even the most basic stuff we just went through, and I would self-interview yourself first and foremost, okay? It's number one thing I do. I don't know how you want me to...
Do you guys, is this interesting to you, this stuff for the personal brand? Yeah? You have to go because you selfishly scheduled yourself to go back and hang out with your family. Is that what
I got
you're
5
telling me?
more minutes, yeah.
Would you mind giving them your phone number to ask questions or
Yeah,
email
yeah.
or whatever the
Yeah,
best
write down
way
the
is?
cell. So you can text me. Make sure you say CFE. I'll remember all of you because you're going to put your name in the text message. My phone number is 312-607-6799. I do this, but what I will offer you is a free discovery call. That's totally there's nothing. You already know what the options are. But really, it's really to see kind of like what Chris said earlier. We're gonna spend a half hour together talking about your offer, who you're trying to attract, and how we can do it. And if the interview method makes sense, we'll talk about that. But more importantly is we'll go through your personal brand, how to position you, okay? So if you'd like a free discovery call on that, I can do that. Just text me, 312-607-6799. And I think that's all I got.
Great. Do you guys, do you need to go right now?
I got 5 minutes.
Okay. Do you guys have any questions? You totally know how to do all of this. What's confusing about the presentation that, not criticizing the presentation, but what
You can criticize.
what are
I
you
rushed it,
confused
yeah.
about?
Yeah, Lawrence.
The white box is at Matthew's
Oh.
table.
So one thing I would say though, just going back to my one takeaway though, I would write as an action step is really to practice the languaging skills you're hearing from these guys. If you want to get better at selling yourself, better at selling. I thought you guys just put on a master class, Adam and Chris, on that last session. So that's number one. I would practice that. Go ahead, Lawrence.
Yeah, so I think I heard 2 things. One is in terms of developing your personal brand. One is getting on stages.
If you can, and if that's it.
Just remember, a stage isn't necessarily a live audience
Yeah.
like this.
Yeah.
A stage is a podcast. A stage is a television interview. A stage is, a lot of other things. So it's getting exposure
It's getting exposure.
to your ideal
Yeah.
target audience.
Yeah, I think that answers the second question. So broadly speaking, anything that gives you the exposure is what is considered.
Yeah,
a stage.
there's an argument. Here's an argument. Adam wanted to be on stages. There's an argument of you could start going to Facebook groups and do rev share deals of you presenting to them, and you might be able to accelerate getting in front of 200 eyeballs, 500 eyeballs, 1,000 eyeballs. Getting on stages in the early phase is not what I would recommend unless you're totally comfortable. So you could tell, I've presented 100 times. This was not a smooth. I'll change some things for my next time presenting this. Yeah. So, yep, Lucy.
Thank you for throwing it. Okay. So I posted a video today on YouTube because I've been starting this process of getting videos.
Can you
out
talk?
there.
Just hold it a little
Yes.
bit. Yeah.
I've been starting this process of getting videos out, and it's so interesting to me to see what the results are. And I've got 2 new CFE opportunities in my inbox,
Nice.
but like no love on social media. So what is that? I
Well,
mean, that, like your
think
network
you're-
can't
yeah,
like
so
love
like
it.
Roland mentioned this earlier about one of his following groups. Like you can't measure your success based on the quantity of likes and interactions. Your best buyers are not going to be like, "You're the best, Lucy. Boom, shakalaka, fire, baby. Check your PM." Right? Usually that's like a stalker. I mean, hey, you look like you and I are friends. Tell me your personal relationship. Dude, that's not a buyer.
Yeah.
The buyer's gonna like watch it, probably research you, and like in my supplement business back in the day, like we'd have 20% of our sales came in from Google, organic. Well, they came from first touch point was probably a direct response ad. Went to a video sales presentation. They went to Google to research us. So you guys are being researched right now. Like go on YouTube, type your name in. Go on Facebook start doing that. And if you don't have videos up or like your press releases or things that like make you look, that's your brand, that's your ecosystem. So
Thank you.
that is, yeah. So I would do more. And I think I was at a YouTube growth thing. The thing that I was rushing through it, but like the more you do to get your personal brand out there, it's not like branding, like putting it on like because branding for dental practices typically is the worst move they could do. This is your personal brand, but there's a direct response component to it because we have an offer. Does that make sense? That's the direct response. But the more content we're putting out that's strategically placed, that has a sales mechanism to it, which is how I design these interviews. Like it's got to sell. Like we're on that for a purpose, not just be like, hey, is it Core Day? Tell me your journey. Like some of these podcasts, like you go 20 minutes in someone's journey. No, we got to get to the point of like, what's the value you provide, and then you backtrack to the stumble. You set up the whole framework, but that's very, very important. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
Keep doing it.
Thank you.
Send me some examples of it. I'd love to see it. Dominic, over here.
Oh.
Nice.
All right. I have a question about my personal branding. So for a long time, I've branded myself as this residential mortgage lender, heavy on Instagram and YouTube. And now all of a sudden I'm challenged with, do I just avoid those pages and, I don't know, just switch, or do I create a new page? Like how do I rebrand from what I've done all these years to all of a sudden?
Well, okay, so I'm going to give you a quick answer. I mean, obviously looking at it would give me a better, and I'm sure Roland has ideas too. But like say if I was in the dental space for like the last 10 years, teaching dentists how to market their practices, and now I want to focus on Ed O'Keefe's show, I would create a new show, okay? But what's cool about that is like YouTube now has this new thing, and is that you can have multiple playlists, and you could always rebrand the title. I didn't even think of that. If you wanted to just exit, but you want to keep the social proof, right? That's another way. You have to think through a little bit, because you could rename it, and then just keep all those videos that you already have there as a different playlist, and then, what's your full name, Marcus? Or Dominic, sorry. Dominic. So like
Dominic Dangora.
Thanks, brother. So then that could be just like whatever, like that's the new show, and then we're just pumping up content. I would keep the social proof, though. I wouldn't start to scratch. Yeah.
Thank you.
Now, if you guys do end up having 2 YouTube channels, you can cross-promote them with YouTube now. That is a fact. So I got time for one more amazing question.
Okay, one more.
Well, I'll give you. What I would be asking is, how fast can I see results? And I would say that if the video is well done and you have you've identified an audience, and that could be part of our discovery call. Like, well, Ed, where do I find these people? Like, you could borrow other people. This is all Roland stuff right here. You can borrow other people's audiences. Now we have a reason to reach out to them on LinkedIn. We have another asset, or all the people that we've had in the past that are leads, people who've connected with us. Be like, hey, say Danker's a fan of my. Friended me with LinkedIn or connection on there or Facebook, I can just ping him. Hey, Danker, I was just interviewed on the Roland Fraser show. I talked about how to grow through acquisitions. If you know anybody who that would create a lot of value for, I'd really appreciate you sharing it, or give me a like or whatever, Do that to 1,000 people or 100 people. the right people are going to start watching that, and you're going to get results like immediately. You know what I mean? So.
Cool. Let's
All
give
right.
Ed a big hand.
All right. Thank you. Bye-bye.